All right, welcome to the God's Business Podcast. My name is Jonathan. I'm your host, and I'm joined here today with Tyler Haley, all the way from Mississippi, from X Cure 365 Pressure Washing. He's here for a convention. Believe it or not, we had an opportunity to connect here in Orlando in the live studio. So if you're new to the podcast, I bring on entrepreneurs to talk about how God works in our life and in our business, because that is one of the things that a lot of business owners don't necessarily think about when it comes to running a business. So Tyler, good to have you, brother.
It's great to
Well,
be here. Thank you.
hey, man. So how's the weather so far?
It's a whole lot better than Mississippi. It's probably, I haven't checked the weather back home, but it's probably like these 50s maybe. I haven't checked it since we left,
Okay.
but like when we left, it was cold. So this is a whole lot more change of pace.
Whole lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that we were scheduled to do it a little bit ago, and then we had a conversation before, about how
Right.
God's working in your life and in your business. And it's actually, I'm super excited to get into that. But one of the things that even just getting into here, right?
Right.
On both of our sides, like the
Right.
truth is, I believe that the enemy is like coming against us to not have this episode. So I'm so pumped to have you here. And so like when you were in Mississippi, we were going to do virtually,
Right.
and then the ice storm came.
Right.
So how did that go?
So that was a fiasco, but God also played in that as well.
Right.
So last few years, we've tried to get out doing the whole snow plowing and salting and all this stuff, which I know down here, y'all don't even know exactly yet. So there's a lot that goes into it. I'm new to it. I'm not a, expert in doing all this, but there's a simple science behind it. Either way, it was bad. So what we ended up doing, we were out in it for anywhere from 14 to 20 hours a day the entire time. And it was a Saturday, and I ran all the way until 2 Wednesdays after that.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So
2 weeks almost.
Yeah. It was almost 2 weeks. So we were in it. I can't remember the date that it started. I rented the skid steer on the 23rd. It came in on the 24th. I got out on the 25th or 26th. And then I was out in it, for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah. And it was a whole lot more than what people thought it was.
Really? It turned out to be pretty
At times we were looking at 4 to 6 inches of solid sheets of ice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did God play a role in that?
So it's always a gamble. I don't own a skid steer. I don't own it.
For people who don't know what a skid steer is, what is that?
A track loader, like if you see on a construction site, a bobcat, basically. If you know what a bobcat is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So it's a skid steer. So I don't own one of those. I don't own a tractor. I don't own a four-wheeler. I don't own a plow or anything to go make the money to go do that. So we have to rent those things. Well, we also have to rent, depending where we rent the equipment from, we have to rent a truck, a 3/4 ton truck, which will be a F-250 or greater, equivalent 2,500 with a Chevy, to haul that skid steer before, like, they won't even let us pull it off the lot. So you have to, which if you have the capital to do so, it's fine. But where that comes in play is we have, other than praying, I've got a wife that's extensively prays, not just for us, but for our family. And I don't give her enough credit for that. And then along with that, I have my prayers and I have my obedience that I'm freshly still even learning on how to be obedient, to be to God, and then be a present husband. So through all of this, last year, what we did is we put up a vision board, a whiteboard. So, and in the Bible, it speaks of, what you ask God, God will, right. So we have started with a little bit of manifestation and with praying and really getting in tune with writing things down that we want, repeating those things, reading those things, looking at those things, and really all out. Once we ask, we just give it to Him. So on this vision board, Thursday, 2-3 days before all this came in, I still had rented the skid steer or the truck. I rented all of that. No, I did rent it. I rented it that Thursday. That night, I put that on the vision board along with everything else we want for 2026. So on there, I mentioned putting, make an extra $2,000. That's my goal on top of expenses from the snow stuff, the ice storm. Not even a week into it, and we had done close to $15,000.
So that was on faith. Like you just sort of rented this thing and you didn't really know what was going to happen.
Completely on faith.
Wow.
But also the key factor in this that a lot of people, I see a lot of younger guys. I'm 29. I'm still young. I have guys that are younger than me that I associate with. They have either worked for me, they want to go in business for themselves. They call me, they see our stuff, have heard our stories and everything else. And they said, what's the first thing that, what do you need to do? I said, you need to get your faith right. Are you married? And some say yes, some say no. But my first thing is a praying wife. And that's something I've learned and I've heard graciously from her, and my mother-in-law, and reading the Bible, and is a praying wife.
Okay.
And out of the last 3 or 4 years that we've done this, what it's been is a crapshoot, either wasted the, $1,000 doing this or not gone out or the jobs have canceled. And this year she looked at me and she goes, you need to do it. This is the year that we're going to make money doing it. This is the year that we're actually going to be able to get out and help people and do this. It's not about making the money, and I'm big on not really publicizing if we do something for free or if we do something to help somebody. I don't want to be recognized for the things that we do to help others.
I mean, so if I understand correctly, the snowstorm came, it was on the vision board to do abundantly good this year. You gave it to God. You sort of like went and got the truck. You rented the truck or you bought a truck?
I rented it. It's doing the legwork.
Okay, it's doing the legwork to get the things to actually serve the community. And your intentions were not necessarily to just make profit. It was to serve in a situation of dire need for people who need to transport either to the hospital, to the kids, or various places, right? And then God bless you abundantly. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wow. And then now you're even leading people closer. And we'll get into that in just a second. So that happened. The snowstorm was happening before we were ever we were gonna go on the podcast, and then you're like, hey, I can't do it. And then I told you, like, with intention comes disruption, right?
Right.
That happened in your life, and we were not able to connect. What happened to me today is my son had like something at the nurse and had to like urgently go there, and I almost had to cancel even just today. And then, but in the back of my mind, I was like, this is exactly what happened to Tyler.
Right.
Like we were not able to like even get on the podcast, and so yeah, I'm blessed to be with you here today, brother.
Well, I'm blessed to be here because I mean it's a form of divine intervention, because not even the way I look at it is not even, I wasn't coming to Orlando before the snowstorm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
During the snowstorm, I got a message off Facebook from another washer. His name is Barry Little. He owns Little's Pressure Washing. Well, we're both in the Southeast, but he's got supply shops. He's got wash crews. They travel. They do commercial. They do government work. So he's been in the industry for over 10 years. So, I mean, he sent me the free ticket to this during the snowstorm. So I was like, okay, same thing happened back in August. We accidentally got sent a free ticket from the promotion company that was putting on the huge convention in Nashville, and they still honored my free ticket. So I looked at my wife and I said, we got to go. I mean, there's a reason God doesn't just do that. And she agreed, and she even said it herself. So we got another free ticket. So there was another reason, and that's what I explained it to her, since we talked about we could do this in person, was I was like, I don't think God sent us the free ticket to be here for the convention. I think God sent us here to be on this podcast in person.
So good.
Because it's another thing I've been praying about. I want to get our story out there.
Dude, when you told me you were in Orlando, I was like, what? This makes zero, like, it's not like we ever planned on doing it in person, but
no, this is the last 36 hours that this got set up to be in person. So off of 2 months of rescheduling and canceling and like trying to schedule it virtually.
Yeah.
So
it's a God thing. It's God's timing, God's plan. And the truth is, like, even I got this new studio, right? It's like, what the heck? Like, I was downstairs in a different location, but it got this new studio. Now it got, even more space for your wife to sit in here. And we got a lot of amazing things. And I'm super excited that he put us here together, because I know that there's so much that you're doing. There's so much that you've gone through. There's so much that even just in a short conversation, right? I know that there's a lot to unpack. Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm always ready.
All right.
I've got this thing all, it's yeah.
I love it. I love it. So I want to go deeper into your life and into like what God has done in your life, and your wife has been a huge, as you mentioned, prayer warrior for you, and sort of like there for you and your family. And so help me understand, Tyler, from your perspective, were you always a believer in Jesus?
I can't answer that one definitively, because
Maybe you weren't following
I
entirely.
wasn't, yeah. So I always knew something was there.
Like you didn't know it was God. You knew
I didn't
something.
know, right. And I had my questions,
Okay.
the more, I'll sum this one up in a nutshell. The more that you question, the more he's going to show you.
Mm.
Okay. In my case, when I kept questioning from a very early age, because my wife was raised in church, I wasn't. I didn't step into, the church house for the first time just to step in there until I was after 10 years old. My parents grew up in church. My dad was saved at 10 years old. At 10 years old, my dad was, dropped to his knees and, accepted the Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit,
Praise God.
So yes, I've in a way, but the last 5 years of my life have really impacted my faith severely to the point that I know there's no
There's no
other way.
doubt.
There's no doubt. There is no other way. There is no,
Okay.
we could get into it all day, but there is no other way. It's
He's the way, the truth, and the
right,
it,
right,
he's the only way to the
right.
Father. I love that. So, if I understand, you were 10 years old. Your family started bringing you to church.
No,
But you were just around it.
no. I went with my uncle a couple times to a bigger church
Sure.
in Germantown, Tennessee. And that was just a couple times. Like I went to main service, so I didn't know what Sunday school or nothing like that. Like I went to Mother's Day out,
Okay.
at a church, in preschool at a church,
Okay.
but it wasn't church oriented. It wasn't.
Got
It
it.
was preschool.
Yeah.
And I didn't honestly step into church to go to church until I was 12, 13, 14. And that was only because my sister had started going. So my sister started going. Oh, let me back that up. Me and her started going to this church event, and it was one of the first. We didn't have mega churches where we were at, up until, and they're not even, they're classified mega churches because they've planted multiple churches in the same area, but there's different. Yeah, it's a whole. Either way, they were
just two people coming together.
right. So one of their things was to hold a kids' night. And it wasn't church service. It wasn't like they had music and there was drinks and there was it was like a kids teenage.
Watch the kids.
Yeah, and we would all go out to the church and just all hang out, and it was this big event. What they were doing was they just planted this church, and the ideology behind that was like, okay, if we can get the kids here, we get the parents here.
Okay.
Yeah. So which they've now went and planted 4 or 5 other churches.
Okay.
So, which great church, but that's what we were introduced to. My sister actually grasped on to the church side of that.
Okay.
I strayed away. Okay. So
Sure.
my sister was the one that brought, my dad back into church and my mom back into church. And my mom spent the next 10 years trying to get me back into church, but I just never, I would go.
I get it.
I was just there,
Okay. So I understand you. So I was not in church
Right.
at all. Like I was actually the opposite of a believer in a way for a long period of time, but Jesus saved my life 2 years ago. And so now he's blessed me with all these opportunities. So I completely get you how you strayed away. My family was quote unquote, believed in Jesus, but they weren't really fully surrendered to the Lord. And now they are, thank God. But for you, you strayed away. So you're like 14 and maybe strayed away for like 10 years or like, let's say 5 years. You said something about 5 years ago. Did something happen that brought you back to?
I strayed away fully until and from, I'm
That's
29.
4 years ago. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
The major change in my life is sitting over there. The other major change at that point in time is sitting in a condo down in Orlando. It's about to turn 3 years old.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So, but along with that, the change that had to happen in 22 before the 2 I just mentioned was me. I dealt with addiction.
Okay.
Um,
What kinds?
so I'll back this up. I got into substances around the age of 14.
Wow. Okay. So that's what you mean by straight away. You
Yeah.
like really went. Okay.
Yeah. So, I wasn't doing hard stuff. I wasn't doing this and all this at 14,
Sure.
but smoking weed, doing this, drinking,
Sure.
everything. So I played around with stuff from the time I was 14 up until the time I was 25.
Okay.
Yeah. So around 2018, it got to a point that it wasn't just harmless stuff anymore. It switched over to hard stuff.
Yeah.
So from 2018 to 22 was the hard stuff.
So what? That's interesting because like there must be something that made you want to like go to the hard stuff. Like when somebody levels up in that addiction, is it running away from something? Is it trying to hide from something?
It's multiple things, and each person's situation is different.
I get it.
So with guys, it could be a multitude of things. There's no one stickler for that. But in my case, I wasn't exactly running from something. I was running from stuff that I had created in my head. Like my home life was fine. Me and my dad had some altercations and some disagreements, but we were too much alike and we were going to butt heads. So all he was trying to do was prevent me from doing the things that I ended up doing anyways. So all I was trying to do was live my life and be left alone. So, and do my thing and figure out life as a man is supposed to do.
Without Jesus at that point.
Without Jesus at that point. So they pushed church onto me a lot. It's people, places, and things. Like, you don't wake up one day and go and say, I'm going to go find meth or heroin.
Right.
You don't. It's the people, places, and things. So from 14 to 16, 17, you go from neighborhood kids that are smoking a little weed to now I'm in the workplace with people that are in their 20s and 30s that are managers or this, that, or the other that at 16, 17, 18, you become cool with. So in those people, places, and things, those things take you to another level of things. And you do that to fit in or be cool or X, Y, or Z. So, and then it just evolves. I mean, it's a snowball. It wasn't peer pressure for me. It wasn't, for me, I wasn't running, like, I was running from things that I created in my head that now I look back and I go, like, they could have been the problem, but I was also the problem.
Okay. You didn't have a sense of truth.
Yeah, I didn't have a sense of truth. And I didn't have God. I didn't have Jesus. Yeah. I didn't have a path I could have, but the more it was pushed onto me, the more I just wanted to stray away from it. Right. Instead of, it's not my idea. So it's not what I want to do. Also, those people, places, and things, if you're already doing something and somebody offers and goes, hey, you ever done this? And you go, no. And then 9 times out of 10, and I say what you want, but if you're already in those crowds, and it's acceptable to doing those things.
Peer pressure.
It's not really even peer pressure. It's, heck, why not? I ain't got nothing else to do today, So it falls into those things, and those choices are the choices that later in life, or later down the road, within those people, places, and things, turns into turmoil. It turns into we were off work last Tuesday, and it was just a fun Tuesday. Whatever. To it becomes your everyday struggle. 1 time turns into 2, 2 turns into 3, 3 turns into 4. And after you do something 18 days in a row, your brain starts to rewire itself to form a new habit. Yeah. So psychologically, there's a lot that goes into it that people don't see. Is they might have started doing something for fun and then notice they do it a few more times, X, Y, or Z. And then after so long, it forms a habit, just like smoking cigarettes.
Sure. Yeah.
You pick up one cigarette and then you want another cigarette, and then after that cigarette, you want another cigarette. And then soon you're like, I'm not addicted. I can put them down anytime you want to, but you wake up craving it. So I'm going to say it doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
It's
make a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. A choice turns into a habit turns into addiction. Addiction turns into a problem, and a problem you have to find a solution for.
Okay. Thank you. That was pretty well explained. I'm sorry to hear all that happen, but
that's not even
we make our choices and we sort of like reap what we sow. And so that led you to, I guess, when you were 2022, I guess, when did you meet your wife?
22.
22. Okay. So were you doing this when you met your wife?
No. So me and my wife have never known each other in that form.
Okay. So what made you to change from that to meeting your wife?
So I'll back this up a little bit. 18. So I'll back this up where it started at. By 2018, I was managing restaurants, not like fast food restaurants. I was done broken into the commercial restaurant chain, bars, stuff like that, locally in Memphis, and was working my way up the ladder, the management ladder, doing so. During that time, I still had people, places, and things that were not on the same life path that I was on, that I was still associated with. So one thing had led to another, and one substance had quickly, in 30 to 45 days, led to another substance that ultimately ended up killing me, like for 13 minutes.
Like you legitimately died?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that.
So that was life-changing. I won't go in. No, this did not help the case of the stray away. Okay. So the experience I experienced, those, they're like gravity pools. They're like gravity pools. So they're like weightless pools. So they use a lot of them in therapies.
Oh, like salt tanks.
Salt tanks. And they've got places in certain parts of the country you
Yeah.
can go to, and like you pay for this treatment and go in there
Yeah,
and do
they
it.
have them here and all.
Okay,
Yeah.
some people call them a think tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So that's kind of like what it was. That was my experience. Yeah.
You're just sort of like there. And
Yeah, but there was
yourself.
there was no embodiment. There was no arms. There was nothing.
Love that. Okay.
But I still felt like my consciousness, that little voice that you hear in your head,
Yeah. Still there.
was still there.
Okay.
So, and that can convey and transfer over to like, okay, that's my spirit.
Yeah.
That's your
Yeah.
consciousness. So, and then I woke up in a bathtub. Yeah. So I don't know how long I was there, but I felt this overwhelming joy and peace
Really?
and like serenity. And I had no worries.
Did you pray or did you think of anything when you were in that moment, or
No.
in those in your spirit with the spirit?
No, I was just trying to the racing thoughts of like, I was aware, not of where I was, but what I was.
Okay.
Okay. And there was nothing. I remember what triggered the overwhelming peace and serenity feeling was I thought about my family. I thought about life and my family. And that's when that feeling had overcame. So,
Okay.
I don't know. So, I mean, it didn't exactly stray me towards God even more. It raised more questions.
That's good.
That raised more questions.
Okay.
But the journey had just started.
The journey. Yeah.
So the particular substance that I was on and all this other stuff that goes that way of like, I got off that substance.
You're like,
Yeah, I was like, I'm done.
Never doing that again.
Right. And a few months later, I switched over to another substance that has the opposite effect. Is this going on YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah. But
I don't know what words.
say it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's meth. Okay. It was meth. And I was on that for the next 3.5 years, 4 years.
Okay.
So from late 2018 all the way till March of 22.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and in between that time, we could sit here for 8 hours and I wouldn't even hit the tip of the iceberg of explaining stuff that all through that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So to the end point of 22 is March of 22. In between all that, from 2018 to there were 7 arrests, all of them felonies.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a convicted felon. None of them are on my record.
And
I did not snitch on anybody.
That's impressive. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was God.
That's beautiful.
He had my hand on me the entire time. 95 years worth of state or federal prison time.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Okay.
If convicted at the minimum of their sentencing. So, but it never made it past preliminary trials.
So were you at least aware that God was there during this whole process?
At times, yes, because when you're facing down the barrel of 30 years,
Who do you go to?
who do you go to?
Yeah.
Right. But anything that I conveyed or said, I either knew in the back of my head or later on would not change those ways. So during that time period, I had a bunch of people that prayed and knew about things and all this other stuff. And my mom helped out a good bit. It caused turmoil between my mom and dad's relationship. My mom would bail me out and pay for their attorney, same attorney every time. A couple times I got released, ROR and released on my own recognizance. I can't say it. And there was a couple they didn't know about, but those led to not being taken care of and warrants and all this other stuff. Throughout all that, I did learn a good bit. I'm not gonna say dodge, but God had his hand on me. Other people
know that now, but then
you then
like, what's going on?
Yeah, then it was just like, So, but come to March of 22, I had a plan. I evicted myself from the house I was living in. Like I wrote the
plan.
Well, yeah, after 6 months of not paying rent, I wrote the landlord a letter. I was like, hey, I have to go away. There's personal stuff, Like, so turn it back over to you. I did that. And then during COVID, I was homeless. I mean, that was like, I forgot to throw that in there. To throw that back, to back it up, 2019, March, literally like 3 days after the lockdowns were initiated or whatever, announced, COVID was announced, I got kicked out of where I was living at. So from March of 2019 all the way until December, January of 2020, I was homeless. So I'd gotten back pay from that COVID money and had a lump sum of money and went and paid 6 months down on a house in Midtown of Memphis.
Sure.
And then while dealing with everything else in the middle of all this, So I'd formulated a plan because I had like the Obamacare insurance since
right.
October of 19
Okay.
before 2020. So I didn't have to pay for it. So I started an exit strategy in October of 2019. I didn't do anything with that until March of 22. I was done. Like what people say is I was sick and tired of being sick and tired was I was done.
Okay.
Done been homeless, done been arrested. I had a dog that literally wanted to kill me. Yeah, there was all sorts of like bunch of stuff and bunch of places I should have been with a lot of people that I should have been doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, even on your wildest day of what you could imagine.
Yeah,
And
I imagine.
we went to I got set up to go to rehab. Well, I got arrested right before that.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. So I had a hotel room. I was door dashing to make money. I was living in my car after I evicted myself because I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go. Don't know what I can do. Know where I can turn. I've burned all the bridges I've had. So I was door dashing to make the money for the hotel room, go to the hotel room for the night, call the rehab first thing in the morning, get the rehab, come pick me up, call my mom and dad. Hey, car's in this parking lot. The key's such and such. I'm off to rehab. It didn't happen that way. So I get to the hotel, had the money on the DoorDash card or on my debit card, and was 25 cents short.
25 cents short.
Yeah. And at the time, this is the mindset that I was in, where my mind was at throughout all of this is I had the 25 cents sitting in my ashtray in the car. I could have given him that quarter and swiped the card for the amount and given him that quarter. I didn't think of that. That's how distorted your mind can get on those substances in those time frames when you're up for days, when you're doing this. You're in survival mode. It's fight or flight, 24/7 survival mode. And it takes years to come out of that even after you get sober. Out of those mindsets, survival mode, after fight or flight.
These
Right.
things that are habits that
Right.
you've developed because of.
Right. So I get arrested on a warrant and a new charge. So at this point in time, off of the warrant and the new charge, I was looking at anywhere from 35 to 45.
This is after you've decided to just, I want to clean
I'm
up.
done.
I'm good.
I'm done.
I want to be better.
Yeah.
And then you got arrested. Okay.
Yeah. That same night.
What happened?
So I go sit in jail for 2-3 weeks, sobered up, detoxed, and tried to tell my parents on the phone the plan that I had. I had text messages and emails to back this up from before I got arrested with the rehabs and all this stuff. And both my parents were like, you're just lying again.
Yeah.
You're just doing what you know. So eventually they agreed to get me out and they were going to take me to this place called John 316 in Arkansas. So you have to interview for it. It's a faith-based, it's like a work camp in a way. So the guys go there, get clean, get sober on the agreements that with them helping you to get clean and sober, the way that you pay for your way there is you go work. So they go out and do community-based projects. They help build things. They got sober living houses. They do lawn work. They do all sorts of stuff. So, and they teach you trades while you're there to give you a skill along the way. So when you get out, you have a skill. But you have to pass 2 interviews, one over the phone and one once you get there. Well, I'm out on bond. My dad did tell me that it was here's the thing. You either go here or I'm revoking your bond. 2 options.
Okay.
So he gave me the ultimatum. So I follow through with it, but I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So we drive the 3 or 4 hours over to Arkansas and we go to their Sunday service and we check it out and have an interview afterwards. I'm all packed up. I'm talking about like packed up, ready to go in the car. They're ready to drop me off. Well, we get in during the interview and one of the guys goes, he's not done. And I was like, dude, I'm done. Like either way, I'm done. If this is just where I ended up at, this is where I ended up at. And then he breaks into a few things and it got heated, and he finally asked me, he goes, were you brought here with an ultimatum? And I said, uh-huh. He goes, what was the ultimatum? And I told him what I just told you. He goes, who gave you the ultimatum? And I said, that man right there. And he goes, interview's over. We're not accepting you. It was a nightmare. I went back out for another 2 weeks.
Back in.
Yeah, I left. Like I got my mom take me to a rehab. I AMA'd against medical advice. Like as soon as I got there, had somebody else come pick me up. I went back out for 2 weeks. So I was sleeping on the floor of an apartment complex in Memphis, and one of the worst parts of Memphis that you could. Yeah. So, and finally, after I couldn't get high anymore, I called rehab and I called my mom. I called rehab, set that up, and I called my mom. I said, I need a bus ticket. And she goes, where and why? I said, here's the link. You can pay for it. Put my name on it. And I need a ride to the bus station. So she's like, what's going on? I said, I'm going to rehab. This is the rehab I'm going to. It's in Knoxville, Tennessee. I have to be there by whatever time I was supposed to be there within the 24 or 48 hours that they were holding the bed for me. So she came and picked me up, took me to the bus station, and I left. And lived in Knoxville for 4 or 5 months, and then moved back home around the Memphis area in July of 22, only after I came in contact with her. So on a whim, I moved back home, started working in my parents' business, and had met her, and then found out shortly after that we had a child on the way. So, and then we moved in together December of 22, and I went in business in April, mid-April. I did mom and dad's, yeah. So May, like I remember booking my first auto detailing job while we were in the hospital with Mason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I remember going and doing that job, and the first thing I did, what I did, I went and bought what? Formula? I went and bought something. It was like diapers, wipes, and formula with the $80 from the detail job. Yeah. So it was, yeah. So
Okay. Give me a lot there. I love it.
yeah.
I love it. I mean, hey, and that's probably only just the tip of the iceberg,
Yeah.
right? I can imagine. It's just like the highlights of what has happened. And
Right. There's not even all of it. I'm just
let me try to make sure I understand. So you had a sort of you died.
more than once, but that was the one time I told you about.
Okay. Well, you died, and I guess could have been more times, but in that experience, you sort of. Uh, it's really interesting because you try to bring it back way back, but
Right.
you you had that experience,
Right.
and out of that experience, you feel like God was over you, or like God touched you in that experience. Do you have that instant peace? Do you have that
Yes.
calmness, even though you don't, even though you didn't follow, even though you didn't like maybe was the best
Oh, he might as
servant?
well put it on a billboard, because now looking back at it, I'm like, he gave me the only thing in that instance that I needed to, I'm not going to say confirm my belief,
Mhm.
but
It wasn't you.
it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't nobody else. And even if you want to get scientific about it and chalk it up as it was a near-death experience, okay,
Same thing.
same thing. I still felt feelings that are spoke of only in the Bible of when that does happen and what you're supposed to feel if you get to where you're supposed to actually go. So looking back on that, he might as well just put it on a billboard, a blinking billboard in front of my face, like, yeah, I'm here, But back then, because of the substance abuse, because of the situations, because of the clouded judgment, because of the questions, I was not able to see that he gave me every bit of truth and belief I needed in that one instance, and I could turn it all over to him 8 years ago. But it's all in God's timing.
It's all in God's timing. So you brother are the very first person I've actually talked to that has had an experience like that, similar to me. I've also had a very not in the same situation
Right.
at all. But when I say that, a lot of people won't understand, and you actually articulated it very well, because I've had an experience as well when God saved me. I didn't know who saved me. The truth is, like, I truly didn't know who saved me. I was in that situation where, going down into my own despair.
Right.
Didn't really know what was going on, and out of body, like it felt like a different dimension. It felt like a
Right.
different, but out of that, right? I prayed I prayed two things, and this is what saved me. I prayed for forgiveness, that
Right.
God, I can't go on any longer. I'm done.
Right.
I'm so sorry. Please
Right.
forgive me. Because I can't go on any longer. And the second thing I prayed was, God, if this is your will, I end today. Today is it for me, so that I can better your plan for my family, other people, whatever it is.
Right.
I give my life to you, my will to you, because I can't do it. I
Right.
can't do it at all. But in that moment, like, I didn't realize what I was doing, first off. There's a tiny bit of faith, tiniest bit of faith. When I was 5 years old, went to church one time,
Right.
a couple
Right.
times. Tiny faith of a mustard seed allowed me to see that I couldn't save myself, right? It sounds like you were in that similar kind of despair of, it was it, right?
Yeah.
And but, in that moment, like, God saved me, and
Right.
and it was like that same feelings of instantly peaceful, super calm. I knew somebody saved, something, God saved me. But
Right.
after that, like, it was very similar to your walk, where I knew somebody saved me, but I kept,
You kept it.
I kept seeking the
You
truth.
right. You kept seeking the truth because the validation that you were taking in didn't appease you.
Yeah.
But that's only because we're human.
Correct. I didn't know what was going on. And
Right.
it sounds like the addiction for you and the way that you described it has been even harder, right? When you've experienced like, Jesus or a God on your life and
Right.
protecting you and keeping you here, living today, to have this, to walk with your wife and with your children and the blessings that we're about to get into, right?
Right.
You would never imagined like that was the case and where you are today. And I think that's I'm really proud that you're doing
Well,
what you're doing.
yeah, we appreciate that. And
Of
that's
course.
we wouldn't be here. Let me put this into retrospect. None of this, me sitting in this room, me being in Florida, me wearing this branding on my shirt, none of it would have happened if I didn't go through the addiction. And here's why. No, okay, let me put it this way. It could have happened in a different way. I didn't know, and I know no other way. Therefore, that's why I say it wouldn't have happened any other way, because I don't know how it would have happened. I remember as a kid, I always wanted to make money. I always wanted to do this or do that. I'm technically third generation entrepreneur or self-employed, technically. But there hasn't been many before me that, they just live life. They just, they didn't crack the code. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. I'm not saying I've cracked the code because of my faith, because of my God, because I know what God has in store for us. I don't know exactly what it is, but he's shown us.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like this, tidbits and pieces. So I remember saying to my dad when I was younger, I said, Dad, I want to wash cars. Okay. How you did that with pressure washer, or with garden hose. He said, well, son, first you have to have insurance, because what if you drop the garden hose and you scratch somebody's car? I'm like 8 years old, man,
Yeah.
So shot down. So later in life, in the middle of this addiction, right before it was the August before I evicted myself. So 8 months before, my grandmother fell ill enough to where she had to go into assisted living home. During all this, all the cousins and, my aunt and my uncle and my dad and spouses and everybody, we helped her move out. But also at the same time, she was like, if you see something you want that I no longer have a use for, it's yours. So everybody was grabbing this and that and all sorts of stuff. And I grabbed 3 things, two tubs full of pots and pans and some knick-knack stuff and electric 1200 PSI Ryobi pressure washer. So I go back up to Memphis and I'm at my house. I'm washing the fence. I'm washing the car. I'm washing the driveway. I'm washing the rugs.
How old were you at this time?
This was
You're a kid.
21 going in 22.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
Okay.
In the middle of my active addiction. Yeah. So in the middle of the active addiction, this is going on. My neighbor, I lived in a duplex in Midtown. My neighbor asked me, he goes, well, you did your side of the fence. We shared a backyard. He said, you did your side of the fence. You do my side of the fence. You did your little back porch area that's screened in, literally little. I mean, it's itty bitty. And he had his washer and dryers out there. He was like, you do my side. I said, okay, sure. Why not? He goes, I'll throw you some scratch. And he was old school. So, I mean, and I go do it. I wake up one day, hook everything up. I do it. I look the most ridiculous I've probably ever looked. I'm in boots, sweats, a rain jacket with a hood over and a face mask. I'm pretty sure I had goggles on. Like
That's Breaking Bad stuff.
You're right.
Breaking Bad.
So because we didn't have grass in the backyard, it was mud.
Okay.
Like it was
Sure.
dirt. Like there's a big tree back there. It was dry dirt. there wasn't a bunch of, light for the grass to even grow. So it was like dirt. So pressure washing all of it,
You get money.
yeah. So I was trying not to get just absolutely disgusting. Like, and if like me personally, so I get done doing it and me and him were talking and he goes, well, how much were you thinking? And I said, $50. I'm out here like 4 or 5 hours, disgusting, not knowing what I'm doing. I just know there's money at the end of this, to an addict. We'll do anything for money. You know what I mean? We'll do whatever it is. We'll do it and we'll find a way to do it and we'll find a way to make it the right way. You know what I mean? So, because we don't want to ruin any chances of not getting the money, which leads to us getting more of what we want. So he sat there and I said, $50. And I said, in my head, I'm thinking that's $10 in gas. So I can go DoorDash to go make more money. Mm-hmm. That's a meal. That's a pack of cigarettes. And that's my next bag. And I said, that sets me up for the next couple of days. I'm good. He goes, no. I was thinking like 200. Right then and there, I had to wait like 2 or 3 days to get it. So he had to have his sister go take it out of the bank, had to go meet her and all this other stuff. So I did that. I went and met her and got it. And I sat there and I was like, in between that time frame, I sat there and talked to God. And, in that moment, the only time I really talked to God, I sat there and I said, I'm in the process of my exit strategy and I have no plan other than eventually to end up at rehab. If you get me through this to the other side, and this was one of those last moment begging, pleading, God, I've done it 1,000 times. Is he going to hear me this time? Or is he just going to wash his hands of me because I haven't kept my word to him? Me knowing now that's not how God works,
Right.
And then that's how I thought it worked.
Sure.
So he got me through to the other side. And I got to rehab and I got clean. I got a job. I'm working up in the Smoky Mountains daily. I love it. I'm back in the restaurant industry doing what I love, not around negative people with all of that. Going to meetings, I'm chairing meetings. I have literally an entire NA meeting that I chair once a week, and I'm part of a board that is on that, that governs that meeting, and the people within it. And I was like, yeah, I'm great. So very quickly in 30 to 45 days, my life went from homeless addict to, all right, I'm back on my feet. I'm taking these baby steps. And I keep taking the baby steps. So along that route, my mom had contacted me. And when she contacted me, my mom owns a business. And she goes, well, one of my downlines, somebody that's opened one up underneath her, she owns a herbal, y'all have them around here, the Herbalife nutrition store.
Oh,
It's the
yeah.
Loaded Teas. So she owns a Loaded Tea store, and she had a woman that she knows open one up underneath her, at 20 minutes down the road. Well, she calls me and she goes, well, so-and-so's daughter, is looking for, you might want to link up with her. She's kind of the same boat you're in, just got out of rehab, this, that, or the other, to talk to that's, going through the same stuff and understands, which that turned out to be my
Wait.
wife. That's off camera.
Oh, wow. So wait, who connected you to her?
My mom, and I'm assuming her mom had a play in that as well at one point. So,
Wow.
yeah,
So she was your like a
I was just
sounding board, a nice voice.
I was just reaching out to, like, she was freshly, you know, going through what I just went through 30, 45 days ago.
I see.
So her process has started a little after mine. So my mom just saw it as like, hey, maybe you could like lend a hand or be a help or be a friend, to help go through this. And as moms think together, they're like, hey, the more the merrier. Just, somebody just needs to be a friend to my kid to,
Yeah. That's
other than the friends that she had.
So you were already out of the thing
Uh-huh.
at this time when you met your wife
Mhm.
and you were helping her.
Yeah. So funny thing about that, I wasn't helping her. We were just
Sure.
talking,
Just talk.
be honest, all I saw was a pretty face at the moment and somebody that needed a little help, possibly. Still need help. We're all a work in progress, baby. So we're not perfect by any means.
No.
Like there might be days we wake up and we're just like, not physically really, but like, yeah, I mean, we're just at each other's throats some days. But that's why we go back to the whole obedient husband and to God and everything else. Something freshly we're learning. So
So you met your wife and you at this point were clean.
I had an interview in 10 days for a counselor position at the rehab that I went to
Okay.
and was like guaranteed the position already.
So they really liked you.
Uh-huh.
Like you made a really good impression
Yeah.
and helped a lot of people.
Right.
So have you always been that kind of person to like really just help others? Like in your heart, like even if you were clouded and struck?
Yes.
Because I know that that's what we talked about in your current business. You're doing a lot right now with
Right.
guys.
And that's so if my dad was still alive, he'd say a bunch of stuff about me, but the one thing he would finish that sentence with is that kid will give you the shirt off his back any given day.
Wow.
At one point, he told me to stop bringing sick puppies home.
Wow.
Not literal sick puppies,
Sure.
but like the friends and people associated with, all he saw was, I was in some situations because I had a big heart, because I was wanting to help people and I put myself in those situations. So
That's so beautiful because
it's not my own account. That's just,
yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking that like he doesn't judge us with what he sees, right? He
Right.
doesn't provide us. He doesn't. He loves us for our heart. Like
Right.
it's the heart that he judges us for.
Right.
And it sounds like you, even in myself included, right? I've always wanted to do good in this world that was so wicked and all these things that I did so wrong. That was like, how everybody else would see it like, no, like not at all. Like you
Right.
were doing all these bad things. You were like hurting these people or whatever was happening. Like you weren't following the righteous path.
Right.
God doesn't see it that way. He sees it. He
And
knows you for who you are because you're made in his image and he knew you from the womb. And so, you and I, brother, both like, we have a heart for God. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to see through all of this hardship that you've gone through in your family, every bit of it that you shared with me today is like at the end of it, like God knew you since forever.
yes, I firmly believe that. And not just because of, there's some other things I could play into that,
Sure.
mention about that, but it's, regarding it. You say since birth, my literal birth.
Yeah.
But
The enemy attacks.
yeah,
Even before.
it does. I
Yeah.
mean, my mom went through 7 years of fertility treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, my
So,
mom, like, she almost like was gone, like when she was pregnant with me.
wow.
So like our stories are so insanely similar. It's actually insanely wild to
Right.
hear all this. I know I haven't shared a lot with you
Well,
about
right.
me, but yeah, when you have what I've realized in the kingdom. So, and trust me, I'm still pretty new. Like
We're both pretty new to it.
yeah, we're
And
both pretty
that's
new.
the good thing about it is because I like it as it's like, I'm not treating it as a new shiny toy, but I'm looking at it as like,
It is who you are.
it is who
It's the
you are.
identity in
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And it's finally coming full circle to being like, okay, this is who you're supposed to be. This is where you're supposed to be.
Surround yourself with these like-minded men
Right.
and women and people who are seeking God and his
To
righteousness.
make yourself better.
And it makes you better. It makes
Right.
iron sharpens iron. Like the
Right.
Bible truly is like, it's like everything you ever need to live in this world.
It is. She knows the Bible more than I do.
Sure.
Okay.
But knowing and living it.
Knowing and
hard.
living it.
Yeah.
I've had that debate recently. Knowing it and living it is, there are some core principles in the Bible that everybody should take away. Through that, it makes living simple. So when I look out at that and I go, okay, hey, what are the core values, the core principles that are in the Bible that I like to take away? And everybody's going to find different ones to take away. I had guys tell me, because me and her were together for 2 years, 3 years before we got married. Yeah, two and some change. I had other guys tell me, they said, once you get married, your business is going to flourish. And I sit there and I hated that they told me that, because I know me, and knowing me as, or just anybody human nature, they're going to go, oh, let me go get married. Let me go, let's sign it, let's do this. My business is going to flourish. More money's going to come in. Why not? Why aren't we going to do it? And I battled with that, but she asked me we were engaged for a long time. So, I mean, it was, when are you going to marry me? When are you going to do this? I said, when the time's right, And that was one thing I don't even think I've mentioned to her, and we may or may not have talked about it. Me and her talked about so much stuff, I can't remember everything we talked about, but that might have came up. But that was, if it didn't, that was one thing that, if I haven't told you, that kept me like, I want to wait till the right time and not when, maybe using that as motivation. But I would tell you this, when we did get married, it exploded.
That's amazing.
So, but I had to come to peace with the whole, like, leave the monetary side out of it. So, and more recently, I would say in the last 6 months or so, there's been fights and there's been arguments and there's been this and that and disagreements, and where it's been like, I don't know where this is going. But more so, I've tried to take a step back and look more into the biblical side of it. Instead of me coming home and being upset that maybe the laundry isn't done, I have to take into the fact that she's got a 7-month-old and a 2.5-year-old that she's been at home with all day. That when I'm at home with them, I can't even get a moment to go use the bathroom by myself,
Yeah.
And then being upset about that because maybe my work clothes aren't done, or maybe how about I get in there, I knock out the laundry for her, and work truly as a team and not just rely on our gender specific roles as society.
Sure.
Yeah, we're supposed to, because if you go back and look at it, what they created in the 40s and 50s and 60s of the generic, the stay-at-home wife, and the husband goes to work, and he gets to do what, he goes golfing on Sundays and does this, and she does all the housework and takes care of the kids, and he just gets to live a leisurely life. And when he snaps his finger, a sandwich is supposed to pop up on a plate. Like that lifestyle of mentality that has gone through and changed multiple times over the last 50 years or so, now 70 years almost, that you go back and look at it, that mentality and lifestyle is completely non-biblical.
Correct.
We are supposed to, as men and husbands, we're supposed to lead the house. And when you have a Christian wife or a wife that prays and knows the Bible, she'll be the first to remind you about that more times than none. But like yours as a man leading a family, and as my wife says all the time, especially like if I get to the point that I might be angry or upset or I raise my voice or this or that, as it goes, I set the tone for the house. So don't go getting sideways with your wife when she gets sideways at you for getting sideways with her first.
Right. Right.
Okay. Like,
Yeah.
remember that, because if I get up and I go do the laundry and do the dishes and I change the diapers and do this and all this other stuff, guess what? If I set the tone for the house,
She's going to want to help.
she's going to want to help.
Yeah.
It's,
You just
it's getting
let you
done.
lead. You're leading.
Letting you lead. And that is something that we physically and literally have not, I would say, has that not improved in the last 30 days? Compared to that, we were just fighting, going in circles about it. And then we sat down and we had a real conversation about like stuff. And, I dove deeper into the whole leading thing, and not like, as a husband, you're not just supposed to provide. You're not just supposed to go to work and then you come home and it's an easy life. No, your job does not, especially when you have kids, your job does not stop when the boots are taken off by the door.
A trainer, and he's also a chaplain. Weird story, right? A trainer chaplain, but he's told me like the role of the man at the household, similar to what you just mentioned. One, if you're a father, be a father. Two, you're a provider, of
Right.
course, right? But three, something that a lot of people don't. The husband as well, but something that a lot of people don't think about is you are the priest of your household. You should be submitted to God. And when you're submitted to God as the head of your household, your wife will
Submit to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
these words are, yeah, but yes, the wife will submit to you, but
The
it's
people
not
that
just like,
understand
oh,
it
just like,
understand the terms
yeah,
that we're using.
yeah, they're not, it's just not just like crack
Yeah.
the whip and, do
No,
no,
no.
it's none of that. It's like you're leading your family with biblical principles, and you're following Jesus and following God.
Right.
And when you do that,
We are the
everything,
storehouse.
yeah, we are the store. Everything sort of falls into place. That's what I've noticed. And will it come with disruptions? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like with
yeah.
intention comes disruption,
Right.
even just getting it right. Like everything in life, it will always come with the enemy attacking. And that's what I was going to
Yeah.
mention is like when you have a high anointing, or God has a high calling for you, and God sees you, and he's taking you from, I would say, from the dirt, or from like the lowest of the like you mentioned, the Tennessee and Memphis,
Dude,
right?
it was the
The
lowest of
lowest of the
low.
low.
That's exactly, there's two ways I describe that. I was at the lowest of my low, or I was in the darkest place I have ever been in my life.
Yeah, he's taking you from the
Yeah.
darkest, where you couldn't even see, and you couldn't see the light. You didn't know up from down. You didn't know anything.
No.
And he took you from that to now you have 4 children, you have a wife, have a business, you are serving the community. And we just talked about it, the ice storm. You literally are not doing it for profit.
Right.
You're not doing it for the next bag or the next
Right.
thing. You're doing it because you love the Lord, and you're doing it for your family, to be the provider, to be the priest, to be the father, to be the husband that
Right.
God has called you to be. Is that an accurate
That
understanding?
100% accurate, because we made a 5-year plan, and a year shy of 5, we've accomplished that 5-year plan. So we have one final piece of us to purchase our house, which we're in the process. Numbers are being finalized, and to purchase our first actual home together.
Wow.
And so we have made another 5-year plan, which has kind of been in the back of my head the whole time. Part of our 5-year plan of something I want to do is I want to continue growing our business. So in the next 5 years, at some point, we can turn back around. And she has mixed emotions on it, but what's called hope houses, maybe
Addiction.
right, addiction or homeless or this, that, or the other, and
Yeah,
help
it's
them get
vital.
their lives turned back around, or going and speaking to NA groups or AA groups,
Yeah.
or entrepreneurs or stuff like this, getting the story out there to show that, like, hey,
It's possible.
if you're still in those slums, you don't have to be.
Right.
Life does not have to be like this. You can turn it around. I don't have the golden road map to nothing,
Sure. Yeah.
but
You're blessed
I'm blessed
with everything you have.
with everything I've asked for.
That's a good way to put it. Everything to ask for.
Everything I've asked for.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And if I lost it all today, I know my faith will allow me to build it again because I'm not the only one building it.
That's right. Dude, that's so good. So you are mentioning things that I've also recently found to be a concept that I've realized. You know, in God's kingdom, God uses entrepreneurs and business owners to fund the ministry, right? To fund the things that God's hand is going to be on,
Right.
right? And so it's very, yeah, that's exactly sort of where what you just mentioned is. In
Right.
my eyes, I see it as like your business is now at a point, or it may be getting to a point, or maybe you want to give back, you want
Right.
to serve and help and support even more so,
Right.
and your business is that fuel to help do that,
Right.
all for the good intentions to glorify Him.
And that's the thing is like, I don't like talking about the things where we help people because I mean, she could
Yeah,
tell you,
we don't really talk
I
about
don't
that
like,
enough.
well, not like that. I don't like going in detail into specific instance. I'm going to go into one, and that's why I'm preluding this with,
Okay,
I don't like to, I know I've already said it once, but
sure.
I don't say these things to brag about, oh, look at us, da, da, da,
And
da, all
boast
this
or
other
anything.
stuff.
Yeah,
I do this to spread God's word. I do this to get it to a point of understanding of why we do it. So, and why I don't want publicity on it. So, during the snowstorm, for
yeah.
instance, we were clearing a parking lot one morning, and I was a parking lot downtown Memphis had already cleared. I had to go clear one more section of it. I waited till the sun came out to make it a little bit easier and quicker, you know. This man walks across the parking lot. He's in some high vis yellow, like what you would see on the side of the highway, tow truck driver, you know,
Okay,
in some high vis pants.
sure.
You know, he's walking across the parking lot and he said, "This is the cleanest deadgum park." He didn't say deadgum, but he said, "This is the cleanest deadgum parking lot of all downtown." I thought he was drunk. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Homeless man. No, he was just kind of happy. And he was walking through the parking lot and he might have been drunk. I don't know. I've kind of misused my judgment on homeless people now.
Yeah,
I give them the benefit of the doubt too much,
yeah.
but she'll turn right back around and goes, you know, he was drunk. And I go, whatever. You know, well, it doesn't matter. Maybe I made him smile today.
You can still plant the seed.
Right. Yeah. I just laughed. I said, well, tell everybody about me then. I'll come clear all the parking lots, which we were. We cleaned. Yeah, we did a lot. We turned right back around, and later that night, 8 hours later, I'm clearing another parking lot. Well, there's a mission downtown Memphis, a mission in downtown Memphis, let me put it that way. And you can get in there, you got to pay $3 or $8, whatever the price is, to get in to get a bed for the night. And you shower, do all this. They set up food and everything else. And he's walking through, and I see him because of the pants. I said, hey, come over here. You know, what's up? I asked him, I said, you drinking or drugging? And he goes, no. I looked at him as he's saying, I'm looking at him like, man, I really don't think he is, you know? And I asked him a story. He goes, man, I'm just down on my luck. And my wife moved out here last year. She ended up leaving me. I said, well, what? He said, she took everything I had. And he goes, she was 20, 30 years younger than me. I'm almost 60 years old. I'm sitting here, I'm like, welcome to Memphis. You know, you got, you
Oh,
know?
man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It happens. And I know it happens. Like I used to be in the rooms with the guys that were setting those things up, you know, and it's sad. And so I asked him, I said, where you going? He's got a bag full of chip, you know, food somebody's giving him and all this other stuff. And he's walking to the mission and he goes, man, I'm gonna see if they let me in the mission, but I ain't got the money to get in. I'm gonna see if he put me on, you know, whatever it's called, like out on loan basically to let him in. And I had cash from one of the jobs that we did. I probably had $1,500 in my wallet cash. I sat there, I'm on this big parking lot. I'm finishing up. I'm like, man, I got to do this one across the street too. It's almost midnight. All 4 kids were in the truck.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So I was like, I need somebody to salt this so it will melt by the time I'm done with that one. So I take a picture. So it'll pay tonight, be a
Yeah.
credit card. I see him and I said, you want to make some money? He goes, man, I really got to get over there, you know, before I lose my chance of getting in. So that's when I really knew. I was like, he just told me no to making some money, you know, because he's, you know, got to get in over there. Like the money that he could make or he thinks I'm going to pay him, it's not substantial to the amount
Shelter. Yeah.
that of the shelter is what he's thinking.
Yeah.
So I sat there and I said, I'll give you $100. And he went,
Yeah.
huh? What?
Yeah.
You know, I said, I was going to give you the $100 either way. If you spread this salt or not, I'm going to give you this.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, I'll spread some salt. He gets the thing out. He big parking lot. I mean, this is a, 80 space parking lot. And he gets out there, spreads it, and he tells me, he goes, yeah, I got to get, he spread it for a good 30 minutes by hand. This dude's 60 years old. It's freezing cold. And he goes, is that enough? Is that good? I said, yeah, here's $100. He goes, I'll be back. I said, I don't care if you're coming back.
Sure.
I don't care if you're coming back
Yeah.
at all. If you do come back, you come back. But I'm giving you this no matter what. This is yours. Do with what. And here's the funny part. We go to clear a lot the next morning back downtown. And here he comes. I'm less than a block away from where I was originally was anyways. And he finds me. He didn't know I was going to be there. He just saw us down there. And he sat there and he goes, that man last night took $30 from me to let me in. It's usually $8. And he wouldn't give it back. And he walks up to me and he goes, but here's 40 of it back.
He took 30 and gave him 40.
No.
No.
I gave him a solid $100 bill. He went to the shelter. They charged him 30, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if that was true. I don't know.
Sure.
But he comes back and he tries to hand me $40 of that money back. I said, no, that's yours, dude. He goes, well, I'll come back over and spread some sauce. I said, you ain't got to, man. It's your money. Just do whatever. Go get in the shelter. Go get you a hotel room. Go get you some food down here. Go get some gloves, something. Put it to use for you, to improve your situation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I look back at that and I said, right there, 5 minutes, 10 minutes away from where I was sitting at, I was there. That was my stomping ground. I was always in that area. I lived in hotels, but luckily because I was able to hustle enough to make $100 a day, roughly, to have a hotel room all of COVID. And that's what I want to give back for. God gave me this business in my darkest days. He gave me the idea. I acted on it a year later, and here we are now. We're a 6-figure business. So any chance I get to give back, and my ultimate goal is to have speaking opportunities like this to tell our story, to speak into the younger crowds, to speak into the guys that are 25 or 30 or 40 and just now hitting their clean point, where they're getting clean and turning their life around.
Yeah.
Or having these hope houses where we can take the homeless and we can put the homeless in them. Or we can take, recovery houses. I'm not in that to make money.
Right. Yeah.
I'm in that to help people turn their lives around because God doesn't want them astrayed from him. He wants them brought back. So if my voice is what brings them back or even sheds a little glimmer of hope, and not even my voice, our voice.
Yeah.
Like, because she's got her background and story too,
Yeah.
And that's what I want to use it for.
Wow.
It's for the better of, God's kingdom.
Yeah. His people, his kingdom. You're a blessing to others.
Right.
And would you ever have thought yourself in this situation today without God?
No. I thought I was destined for restaurant management my entire life.
Wow. Yeah.
Like,
he just gave you the idea. He gave you the business. He gave it all to you.
I always wanted to open a business.
Sure.
I just didn't know where, who, what, when, where, or how, and the whole pressure washing thing I've never acted on. It's a hard industry to get into. People think it's, oh, I got a pressure washer. I can go clean this or do that. Dude, I don't even use my pressure washer.
Yeah.
People say that, and the exact look you just gave me, they're like, we're talking about pressure washers. How does this man not use his pressure washer? What are you talking about? So I use it for concrete and to rinse big areas because I push 20 gallons a minute, but other than that, I don't use it. I don't use that to wash your house. I don't use that to wash your roof or your windows or anything, but we do tons of other things. We do painting and staining and line striping and gutter cleaning and
you're helping people.
Right. So we're all over the place. And that's, I always feel like I'm behind, and that's where I have people tell me, they go, well, you feel you're behind because you're thinking 5 steps ahead, because in what you're already actively doing in your head is already done, because you're planning for the next 5 steps, because it makes that first thing. If you plan 5 goals ahead, that first goal seems a whole lot easier to achieve if you know you have the 5th goal to get to, which is the end point, which achieves what you originally were trying to achieve, the end point.
That's a business masterclass right there. Like that right
Yeah, well,
there. The advice. That's like the best business advice I've heard all day.
Well,
That's great. Absolutely.
The way I put it in my head like that is like, right now we have jobs on the books that are scheduled to be on the books
Sure.
for March. and we're waiting on approvals from some, and that might have been some going off in my pocket earlier. Who knows? In my head, that's done. But that's from repeat clients. That's not paid ads. That's not, that's organic. And it's waiting on one approval. But once that other one's approved, which I'm at a 90% rating on knowing if it's going to be approved, I just don't count my eggs before they hatch. We're looking at 15 grand, and that's organic reach. We've got ads that are about to kick on. We've got door hangers about to go out. We've got wrapped vehicles now. I mean, we got all sorts of stuff. We're doubling down on things. And that's where, when you come into the business side of it, is running those machines, cleaning the buildings or the concrete or doing this. That's the easy part. The first and foremost part is, with business owners, I can wrap this back to God real quick, where it goes, God says, put your wife first. It's, you put God first, your wife, your children, then your business.
Absolutely.
So if the business is the last thing that God wants you to focus on, but it's the first thing on your mind in the morning, I've struggled with that. And I've let my relationships dwindle because the first thing I put on my mind is my business, because business owners go, well, if I don't have business coming in, I don't have money coming in to provide for the family. So how can I put them first? So our thoughts initially going into business is, I have to put the business first to put the family first, because without the business, I don't have the money for the family. Okay. So when this wraps back to God, when you step into a different approach, perspectives, listening and practicing what the Bible says, what will happen is when you align all of those, God will make sure that the business that he gave you and the idea that he gave you and where we've came so far, he will give you the clients for. But in order to do so, you have to put him, your wife, children, then the business. So the concept of all of that is I'm still understanding it. I can tell you my experiences. That's it,
But you have to have faith, right?
It starts with your faith.
And then it's faith. Do you believe God is going to provide? Do you believe that the Bible is true? Do you believe Jesus is here? Do you believe? If you do, and if you put everything on God, if you just seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be provided unto you. If you believe in his word, you believe in the promises he's made, have faith in him, he'll make sure everything works out.
Right.
That's how we're here today. That's how I have this podcast. Bro, this podcast came from nothing. Didn't even have a space, didn't have anything, didn't have anybody to come on. Do I make money from this? Absolutely not. Do I help spread the message? Glorify God, edify the body of Christ through bringing on people like you, brother, to talk about your testimony, to help to spread the amazingness and the glory that he's done in your life, the blessing that you have become to your family and your other people who are interacting with you. Because, like you mentioned a couple of times, you're helping people even in your own company. You're helping them get off the streets. You're helping them, giving them a direction.
Right.
And you telling them, put faith, put God first, get your faith right.
Right. And that's the thing is, I didn't used to do that.
Right.
I didn't used to.
It's a byproduct of who you are today.
Right. It's a byproduct, because who I was before and who I am now, and the goals that we've set out to achieve personally and for the business, and what I've learned through all of this, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg. I've got another 20, 30 years to go. Possibly, I'm just getting started.
You're just getting started.
So, and I have to remind myself of that, because I've done made it to a status of, like, in my head, but also I know numbers wise that I'm up there with the guys that are known on social media. I'm up there with the guys that have been doing this for 15, 20 years, because 3 years out the gate, I'm pumping out numbers that are ridiculous, like on paper, ridiculous. It's nothing but God. I used to worry about work. Like right now, you ask her, for the past 3 years, at this very point in time, what are we doing? We're in the car every single day, going out and marketing, walking into businesses, giving cards out, doing this, doing that, trying to get the name out there.
Yeah.
And because in a way I had a controlling sense of factor that I had to, and this is going to be separate from doing the legwork. What you ask for and the betterment of yourself and your family, you always have to work towards. That is first and foremost on a daily basis. You always have to work towards that. To a point, it just becomes natural. But you have a sense of, where we had to go out, we had to go do that, had to bring money in, had to do this, had to do that. And we did. But now I've kind of let it sit back, because I look at all this and I go, I paid for some ads last year, but out of what we made, not even 10% of what we made came from those ads. We're about to double down on that because we have organic reach,
That's
but we're
good.
going to double down on those ads and get back to what we know the most, because that's God. He gives you these things and these tools to use
Yeah,
to further your business and to further, you know, your reach.
absolutely.
With all of the end goal is right now, the immediate plan, I'll see her talk about pressure washing, is I have to grow and scale this and and all this, not to make it some big business, not to make it some extravagant empire that, you know,
Right.
the pressure washing empire of North Mississippi, you know,
Yeah.
no, this is to get to our next goal to help more people.
Absolutely.
If that is me employing guys that live in a house that I own while they're getting clean and sober and getting their life on track, and I pay them, everybody wins. Or if I don't employ them,
Mhm.
you know, I actually really don't want to employ them
Right.
because I don't want to mix the business with what
Yeah, the mission.
the mission. So it's one of those that we're learning as we go. And the more we get to talk with other guys like you and other business owners and non-business owners, you know, the more that it's alleviating to know that there are more like-minded people out there and that our country in the whole is coming more to Christ. And I see a lot of business owners that are pushing that. That are the cause behind that. So I think there's a movement that is up and coming in our country, because if you go look over the last 4 or 5 years, how many more people have been drawn to Christianity compared to recent years in the past? We've had the largest influx of generational, you know, not generational, but the generations coming up that have gone towards Christ and know Christ and are shouting it from the rooftops that it's bettered us. It's bettered the next generations.
Absolutely.
So, and that's other than giving back, that's what it's about, is bettering the next generation.
Absolutely. I think everything you're doing, one, I'm proud of you. I don't know if anybody's ever said that. I've heard your story the first
Thank you.
time. You're
They do.
the fullest moments. The truth is you're leaning on God. And that's the number one business strategy. That's the number one life strategy. And I agree with you 100% that entrepreneurs are building God's kingdom
Yes.
and they're the kingdom builders here on earth.
Right.
And the more people we touch with our business, the more people we, interact with and serve more people, whether it's a profitable business or just, talking to somebody, just having a conversation.
Right.
The idea is, I agree that everyone is leaning towards Christ. I think this is a huge shift
Yep.
in the moment. I mean, that's what I do for my business as well. Is like I'm coaching and helping entrepreneurs
Right.
like build their brand, build a voice, build a message beyond just them and their area,
Right.
their local area. Because like I'm sure there's many others out there that have stories to tell. And
Yep.
yours has been such an amazing story, Tyler. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me and listening and giving me the platform to. This is the first time. I don't want to say this is the first time this has been shared or told. This is the first time in a platform setting like this or a podcast setting like this where it has been. So it's
Right.
given us the ability
We
to
can scale this.
scale this.
This is even though it's just us, like even just one person, if one person just watches this and comes to Christ, we're planting seeds at the massive level, hundreds of people or thousands of people, or maybe none, right? Like you can't control
No.
the growth. You can't control what God's going to do with it, but you can control the fact that we came here, we sat together. I learned your story, brother, and you're doing amazing. So as we sort of like come towards a closing point to this particular episode, and of course we could do more, but is there one advice that you give for your old self who's down in the darkness of where they are and the choices they've made? And if there is there one advice that you give to that person who wants to find a way out, what advice would that be?
So let me go back to old self here and speaking for the thousands of people that could also relate to that old self. We don't find a way out. You end up in 3 places: jails, institutions, or you're dead. And if by some miraculous chance that you don't, most of the people I know that have escaped this have branched into what I'm doing. entrepreneurship. So a lot of them have, and some don't, and some do, and everything else. It's not us finding a way out. It's accepting the help. So if you're out there and you're watching this, take the chance, take the step, take the leap, and take the hand, because it will, done in the right way, with the right intentions, will change your life. And it might not be to Christ at first, but Christ was behind it all along. And the reason I say that is because when I was in rehab, we had to check in every day, spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And they had us pick a higher power. That higher power could have been, had people in there that was their grandma that died when they were 5. It was, a place or a person or a thing. I had people in there that were agnostic, that didn't believe, or atheists and didn't believe, or Catholic or Jewish or Muslim or, all sorts of different religions. So all of our higher powers were not going to be God, at least not the God of the Christian world. So because of where I was at spiritually at the time, there was a picture on the wall. And there was this picture of multiple horses in a pasture. And there was this one horse way off by himself in the pasture by a tree. I said, that one horse is my higher power for the next 30 days. Not God, not Jesus. Because higher power means something that is just over yourself, higher than yourself. Doesn't have to be as high as God, but something that you can believe in that's more power than itself. Because that horse was going to sit there on that wall for the next 30 days while I was there. That's what I needed to do, was plant my butt in that chair for the next 30 days and sit in that room. So I knew if that picture could sit, it's metaphorically, you know what I mean? So it sounds silly saying it.
Yeah.
But I knew that once I got a clearer picture and clearer mindset, I knew that God was on the other side of it. So I just had to have something to trick my belief system at the moment. So all in all, take the help, take it, make an exit strategy, have a plan, follow it through, give God the rest. You just walk through the doors that he opens and you walk on to the next one that he opens, and you just keep on walking. If you hit a door that's closed, ask why it's closed. Ask for another door and keep on walking till the other door opens, because it will open.
By faith, not by sight.
Right.
Just keep walking.
It's on my foot. It says walk by faith.
How did I know that? I didn't. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. So absolutely, but
Yeah.
I love that. So how can someone get in touch with you, or how can somebody follow what you're doing, or what's the best way for them to?
So y'all can find us on Facebook, XCure 365 Pressure Washing. It's XCURE 365 Pressure Washing. Could be short for Excellent Cure 365 days a year. Don't know. We have not came up with taglines or slogan. Or you can find us. My name's Tyler Haley. Just type that in on Facebook. Not hard to miss. Our website, www.xcure3. We're not really all over social media. We're mainly on Facebook and our website, and that's where most of our content's posted. But personally, I accept calls all the time from all over the states. There's a guy I helped out in Oregon get his business started. If you're out there and you're in despair, call me. Our number's posted all over the place. As long as you look us up.
If you're out there and in despair, call Tyler Haley.
Yep.
From XCure 365.
Yep.
We'll put the links in the description below,
Yep.
so you can take a look at those. But Tyler, is there anything else?
Not really. Just give it all to God and it'll work out. It's hard to let go of the control because it's the human nature, but once you give it all to him, it's a whole lot easier. It's a weight lifted off your shoulders.
In the Bible, it says, and we'll end on this, is goodness, come to me, all you and heavy burdens, and I will give you rest.
Right.
For my yoke is easy and my burden, or it's something is light.
Right.
I had bad full context of the Bible, but yes, let go and let God, and that's the concept of that's the theme of this whole episode. So Tyler, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you,
dude. It's so cool. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, let me turn this off real quick.